Okay, well, it looks like we are live on YouTube now, so I'll go ahead and pull up the agenda.
Thank you, Maggie. Excellent. Well, I'll call this meeting of Engaged Families and Community Pillar Committee meeting to order. And unfortunately, as I think Maggie said earlier, Trevor is not able to make it this evening, but Leticia, Maggie, myself, and Josh are all attending. Thank you guys for joining this rescheduled event. So I'm just going to start with our mission is to equip every student with the knowledge and skills necessary to be resourceful and successful. And our vision is by 2030, the Estacada School District will be the premier school district in the state of Oregon. And our values are to inspire, engage, and achieve. And as far as like a board member update this week, I did just want to, let me say, got it here. I just wanted to say I did take the survey. So I did take it the other day. So that was good. I had a chance to go through the questions and participate in that. And I'm excited that, we're getting some results back, and I know there's some meetings coming up, and I'm not sure how much you'll share today, but I'm glad that we're given the opportunity to our community to provide feedback. We hear anecdotally things, but this is a good opportunity to get it, very, thoughtful way. And then I was trying to think. I also, and I did see your 60 seconds today talking about communications and such. And then I think that was really helpful. And I know we've simplified, but it's still amazing how many different platforms we utilize to communicate with our families and communities. So it's just kind of interesting to think, we're trying to simplify, but yet there's still so many platforms. And, like you said, it's kind of like trying to find what works best for you as, somebody who wants to learn about the school district. And I don't know, my question is, do you have recommendations of like what platforms are used for what? I know it's probably similar. I mean, I know you said it in there, but it went really fast. And do we have like a website, a page or something that kind of lists out all their different?
We have a graphic that we have posted that I could send also, and it kind of just shows each app and what it looks like. Our main recommendations are the S'more newsletters, so keeping up with the s'mores, Parent Square, and then either Canvas and PowerSchool if you're at the lower levels, or you can utilize primarily PowerSchool at the high school level. So there's 4 that are really like essentials.
Did you say PowerSchool at the high school level?
I believe PowerSchool, or maybe it's the middle school that primarily utilizes PowerSchool.
Okay. So I was gonna say, I think I've been using Canvas. But in that infographic, do you say kind of what they're each for and what? Okay.
Yeah, we give just like a 1-sentence overview on each one, because we've got to simplify it. There's so many different things out there. And then the others are just kind of extras. Yeah.
Yep, totally. But anyway, so that was kind of fun just to get to see that. And I thought it was really well done, Maggie.
All right, thank you so much. Anything else you want to touch on, or anyone else wants to bring up before we dive on in?
Oh, I've been seeing Mr. Gray at some soccer games, I believe, doing some video taping and videography. Curious, what are you doing with those videos?
Yeah, right now we're kind of doing an experiment where we're doing, the primary goal of going to the games is doing some Facebook Live during the games, kind of throughout the game, just at different points, to a little bit of behind the scenes and little highlights of what's going on, kind of as an experiment to see how well it's received. And right now we're going to at least one home game for every fall sport. And but in addition, I'm also bringing the main camera we use for a lot of our recording, so that I can just get some highlights of what's going on. And right now we don't have any major plans for that part of the video, but I would see in the near future doing highlights for sports, maybe for specific teams or for the athletic program in general, different highlights and promos and things like that. Also, potentially just including it in other communication we might utilize.
Nice. And how have they been responded? Do you find that there's much engagement or?
There actually is. There's quite a lot of views and engagement on Facebook when we're doing those live. A decent amount during the game live, but then even more after the fact. People are checking out the videos and seeing the little clips that we put up there. And so, my opinion, I think so far it's been a good exercise and a good experiment. And I think we'll just keep doing it and seeing what the numbers look like and seeing if there's some other ways we can utilize that. But it's kind of a fun way to not take over live streaming events specifically, but to give people a little insight if they couldn't make it. They get to get some highlights, but also not so much that it discourages people from attending in person.
Right. A little taste.
Yeah.
And are you a part of the live streaming stuff too, or is that all athletic owned?
Right now, I'm not involved. I could be kind of in a pinch if we needed to, but right now that's run through athletics and operations, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Josh has done a really good job of kind of distributing the love across all of the organizations. I think that's been a weak point in the department in the past is just not enough coverage equally of every activity. And we really want to give an inclusive look at all the activities that we have going on. So he's been good being everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's great. All right, that's it.
Well, great. Well, I will jump into just briefly a refresher on the goal because we are going over numbers today. So our goal is to get in the fall a 3.88 on a parent engagement survey. Last fall, we got a 3.78. So we're hoping to increase that by 0.1. In the spring, we got a 3.97. And I just refreshed again. We still have another week of the parent engagement survey. So numbers are still changing, but we have gotten, I would say, the bulk of the responses we're going to get. We're just shy of 500 responses right now. We got 570 in the spring. It looks like in fall of last year, we got 557, and the year before we got 341. So just shy of 500. We'd still like to get another 100 responses, but we're coming in pretty close. And we are at a 3.98 right now. So very exciting. At this point, we are 0.01 higher than in spring.
That's great. That's really good to hear that so far we're maintaining, right, that high level from spring.
Yeah, we see some areas that are a little bit stagnant, some areas that there's still gaps, but overall pretty pleased. It's great to see the areas where we do have growth, and I'll address them a little bit more later. But yeah, really, we are maintaining pretty well, especially given all the challenges that we have faced over the last year and a half. So it's good to see a lot of people filling out comments as well that are just incredibly helpful. I always really appreciate the comments because I get a little bit more insight. So it's good.
Yeah, that's great.
So some other wins, I'll touch on the survey more also, but school outreach is occurring. I've started seeing the logs really start to circulate where teachers are starting to check off calling families. So I think the back to school challenges are kind of starting to wear off, and it's starting to level out, and the outreach is really consciously happening now. Another one I wanted to mention in rounding with student services, we had a very small sample size on this, but they are surveying families post IEP meetings. They ask something along the lines of the lowest question. I received feedback on how well my child is learning. And 75% of families gave us a 5 and 25% gave us a 4. So that's exciting to see. I think they were getting about 40% participation. So we'd really like to up the participation, but it's still great to see. And there's a lot of outreach going on. We heard you said this, or we haven't heard back from you. So just having that conversation going, I think, is exciting. Another win is from our finance department. This is still very new, and we're really excited. With the help of Josh, we launched our finance video series, and I think it has over 100 views. Josh, do you want to talk at all? Have you looked at the analytics on that lately?
I will pull that up very quickly here.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
But one
There's
of the
119 views on YouTube, and I'm not sure on Facebook, but I can look that up.
Yeah, so that's exciting. We just launched that new series, and we just started talking about the audit. We're going to go into tax rates a little bit more next month, and just excited to get Christina Weinert, our Director of Finance, of Space out there, get her introduced to the community, and just start a dialogue on finance. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, so it's 186 on Facebook. So not
That's
bad.
great. Nice. When was it launched? I need to go watch it.
It was on October 6th.
Yeah, it hasn't been very long. It's been out for about a week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited to keep that one going. Our ops videos continue to be pretty popular as well, and just updates on the facilities. We're going to do a little bit of a different layout with the operations video in alignment with his goals in parent satisfaction. We're going to start doing tour walkthroughs of the schools, because one thing we really noticed in the parent surveys is that parents are missing being in the schools. So one thing we can do with operations is let's do a walkthrough school by school, just one per video to not make it super overwhelming, and talk about some of the facility challenges, some of the facility updates that have happened, and just remind our community of what our schools really look like, what our halls look like. So that's going to be another exciting one.
Yeah, I like that. It's an interesting twist. I think that's a good call.
Yeah. And then, of course, our parent survey is out. I really want to applaud Leticia as well, getting the word out for our Spanish-speaking community. We've had by and far more Spanish-speaking participation than I've ever seen. I think we have 35 families, averaging between 7 and 8% of the survey response has been from Spanish-speaking families. It's more than I've seen in the past, and we are now also able to break down survey results by English speaking versus Spanish speaking families. So we're able to see some of those gaps. For instance, right now, I said the overall is 3.98. The Spanish overall is 3.79. So it's definitely a little bit lower. We do have some areas that are high. The one area that comes in significantly lower than English speaking peers is my principal is reachable and readily accessible to me, scoring a 3.53. So it'll be exciting to talk about, how we can address some of these. And then Leticia, did you, I know you did a poll with some families, and you had a Spanish speaking parent group, your first one in September, and you have another one coming up in October. Do you want to talk about how that first one went and some of the data you saw?
Yeah, I thought our first Spanish-speaking parent group went well. Had about 10 to 11 families join me. They asked a lot of questions. They were engaged. And so I surveyed them and just asked them similar questions to our parent engagement surveys. And so, but another question that I threw in there was, has Spanish communication improved this year? And the score came out to be about 4.11.
Nice.
So I'm pretty excited about that. And then the same overall questions. Do you feel your child is safe at school? That scored a 4.22. I received positive phone calls, emails, or notes about my student from the school. That scored 4.33. And then my child's school is clean and well maintained, which scored a 4.44.
Wow.
So
that's great.
Yeah, so I'm getting ready to do my next one here on the 21st, and I'm going to be doing some calls, especially trying to reach out to middle school and high school families.
Do you feel like you have more engagement at the elementary school?
Yes.
That was some good feedback we got from the first one too, was parents weren't sure if this was only for Rivermill families because it was hosted at Rivermill, and primarily, we have a large base of Spanish speaking families at River Mill. So yeah, Leticia is making sure to reach out to our secondary families.
Excellent.
Well, thank you. Anything else you want to add, or you want to talk about some of the things you're going to be going over in the October meeting?
Just bringing up the apps all over again. I feel like that was very helpful. We're going to be talking about conferences, getting ready to get them scheduled through PTC Fast, and then just talking about any other information or how we can better serve and improve our communication to our Spanish speaking families.
Yeah, I know conferences is a big one, and Leticia is always hopping around that time. So just proactively preparing, since you've been with us through conferences now before, you know what it's like. So we're excited to have good parent participation in that.
Do you attend the conferences?
Yeah.
Wow, busy.
Yes, very. It's an all-day event.
Yeah, that's nice though, to have that support.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Leticia. So again, on the parent survey results, we're seeing some of the same lows again. I regularly receive feedback from school staff on how well my child is learning, and I receive positive phone calls, emails, and notes from my child about my child from the school. There still are lows. The scores are remaining pretty similar. We saw some jumps, particularly at the elementary level, but the elementary level is always just pretty high. At the secondary level, we do see the scores lagging a little bit. So it's a good opportunity to see what some schools are doing that's working, what other schools are doing that could use some improvements. And there's some good comments as well on what parents are looking for that I think we can dig a little bit more into. But I just want to take the time with the staff also to celebrate the wins. I mean, maintaining and even slightly bumping up our score still is really exciting. And I want them to know that that's evidence of their work.
Yep. Yeah, I think that those comments will be really interesting because like I think we discussed last year was like people have different expectations of what good communication is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a really hard thing to gauge. So that'll be really good to hear.
Yeah,
that feedback is.
It's great to see. I think just anecdotally, I haven't measured the number of words in the comment section, but I have seen people write longer and longer comments than I've ever seen in past surveys. So that kind of tells me positive and negative, that they feel like we are listening, that it's worth typing out those responses. And the level of detail is extremely helpful on some of them. So I think that's just fantastic. And then additionally, there's been so many people that have been recognized for doing positive things, and our principals see those, and they all do a really good job of reaching out to those employees and giving them the affirmations that they deserve from that. So it's just a really positive process. And we've received recently some parent desire to see the final results. So we're really planning a pretty robust rollout of our fall survey to families coming up in a few weeks. We haven't gotten details yet, but I'd like to do that sometime in early November and roll it out to families. The scores, but also I'm thinking we could break down the comments into some themes. Of course, we don't want to release anything that's confidential in the comments because there are some of those things, but I think we can identify some themes from the comments that we can transparently communicate to families and let them know that we heard them and what we're doing to work on them.
Like it. So it's like almost kind of also if there's any action plans or you mean associated?
Yes, so this is the time that action plans will change after this survey. The fall surveys are the big one. The May one is just kind of a pivot point. So it looks like from my brief scan today that most of the schools have the same low score that they're going to target, the same number one low score. A couple of schools had a change on the second lowest score. So that's probably another one that they might switch their action plans around on. And then a couple of new high scores have emerged. So that'll be exciting to do some plus deltas on what went well on bringing up some of the high scores. So I'm very excited to help check in with people and see how their action plans change and what we can do to specifically work on some of those things like giving out regular feedback from teachers on student learning.
Mhm.
So moving on to barriers, survey participation, I said down in the next 30 days, I would like to get 146 more responses. That would be a 10% growth from our participation in the spring. We'll see if we can get there. I sent out another text message shortly before this meeting, and I think we had about 20 more responses roll in. So I think families just need some regular reminders, and it's been pretty steady. So I'm hoping to continue to increase that. I know Leticia sent out paper letters to Spanish speaking households. Leticia, when did you send those ones out? It's pretty recently.
Yeah, I sent those out last Thursday.
Yeah. And it's been great every time she sends out a text or a phone call. Since it's a smaller group, I can see that number just jump really quickly. So I think every time we've done an outreach, we've gotten 10 to 12 more families. So it's just repetition. So we did get a couple of comments on communication frequency that I'm excited to dig more into. It was very three bears. Some said too little, some said too much, but they did give specifics on what they find to be too much or what they find to be lacking. So I think we can hopefully use some of that to fine tune the sweet spot, the right amount. So additional barriers, just engaging our secondary level families. I think, let's see, in here, we're looking, it looks like we are in the high 100s at the elementary school for participation on the survey. And we are in the low 100s for participation at the secondary level. The middle school is lagging the most at this time. So just continuing to reach out to those families to get them to take the survey, to tell their students, to tell their families, because the elementary students, they'll get excited and nag their families a little bit if there's a pizza party involved, but secondary students play it cool a little bit more. So encouraging them that this helps their school improve, and encouraging families that even though your child is more autonomous, you still have a say in their school, and you can continue to communicate that, and it's as important as ever. So and then just another, well, I wouldn't say this is a barrier, but moving forward, just excited to see what our new action plans are. We're still working on some of the same lows that are really stubborn. And so it's just a need for more robust action plans to specifically target some of those things. Some improvements in action. EMS's open house learning series was completed. I watched that, thought it was great. It got a decent amount of views. And it was kind of a virtual open house learning series combo. It gave some really great info on how to keep up with your child's progress, some of those apps and online logins, and how to talk with your student. I thought it was really helpful, and a pretty good masterclass in a one segment on how to get updated on your students' learning. I appreciate that it was so proactive too near the beginning of the year, really setting people up for success. And then, like I said previously, parent rounding is definitely happening. I saw people mentioning it in the comment section of the parent survey that so-and-so has reached out to me already, and I really appreciated it. So that's just evidence that that is happening. The rounding logs are reflecting that also. And then in the next 30 days, we have our second Spanish speaking parent night, as Leticia mentioned. Excited about that. Excited to continue to improve those, expand our outreach. Just working on the parent survey. And then I know this is a little more than 30 days out, but conferences in November. I found a lot of parents also mentioned the conferences are extremely helpful to them. So just making sure parents know how to sign up, where to sign up, and the importance of that. I think even though we're virtual again this year, I think that does provide some opportunities for working families or families that are a little bit further away from the school, don't have transportation, to make it virtually. It helps remove some barriers. So that's exciting to see. And I'm excited to work with Leticia and some others to just make sure our communication on that is crystal clear and that we get some good participation.
A lot going on.
Yeah, that was just a Reader's Digest version of survey results so far. Any questions or anything anyone else wants to add?
I thought I had a thought earlier. So next month, I guess, when we talk about what happens at the next meeting, we'll have more results, and we'll have the results tallied, right? And kind of, so when do the action plans get reviewed, and like, would we be reviewing the new action plans? Would that be next month, or is that in the adjustments to action plans, or is that December?
Great question. So by next month, we'll have the finalized votes tallied. It does take a little bit of time. We are meeting next week on the 19th. It's our 90-day rollout for our action plans. I am guessing that we'll start to talk about that, but again, the data is still pretty fresh on the parent engagement survey. So one thing that will happen is that each building will pick a date that they'll roll out the results with their staff. And they'll talk with their staff about what they can improve on, and they'll come up with action plans together. This is not a top-down thing. This is them getting together and discussing what went well and what didn't go well and where they didn't meet their goals, and collaboratively coming up with a goal. And then I'll chat with each of them, see what's going on. Excited to report it here and see where we can support as a communications department and at the district level.
So let's just use, I don't know, Clackamas River for an example. So if they, had their bottom two scores, and they decide that there's a certain things that we're going to try to work on. So will they have those figured out by the time we meet? And then you're going to have your dashboard, you know what I mean, that tracks those, and that's what we would review? Or is it like just shown in the survey? I'm just trying to understand when, that next 90-day cycle.
Yeah, great question. I would estimate it depends on when they're able to schedule their meetings, but I would estimate that at least some of the buildings would have rolled this out to their staff by the time we next meet. If we are meeting on November 1st, if we are meeting on November 1st, I would guess that some of them have done those rollout processes. I know at least one building was eager to start talking about it with staff. And then we probably wouldn't have very much data yet. But we would talk about what their action plan is, what they're committing to, and how they're going to collect data.
Yeah, that's more kind of what I'm just really interested in, is kind of the next steps, the plan. Obviously, they'll be working on the plan, but okay. So you think by November 1st, we might be able to have an idea of what some of those action plans are going to look like for each school?
Yeah, I think we'll start to see those emerge. Yeah.
And so then you have your action plan for each school. And then do we have like a district level, like plans? Or
great question. Each department does one as well. So they do one off of the district's scores as well. So each department is in it, and I'm rounding with departments as well. For example, nutrition services is the nutrition services Facebook page to back up the schools. So.
Okay. And so then will you present like the dashboard or those all communications related action plans at the school board meeting, or would we review them here?
We'd likely go over them more in depth here. We'd break open the actual dashboard in Google Sheets, look into it actually. And then at the school board meeting, I'd probably just do 1,000-foot level. Here's what the buildings are generally committing to, and then just present quick overview data when we start to get it over the coming months. But this is the place for the in-depth nitty-gritty.
All right, I like it. Okay, sign me up, I'm in. Perfect. So that helps me understand what's next.
Great. And I will not say anything tentatively. We have someone that has reached out and is potentially interested as a parent in being a part of this committee. And I think it's a great time to jump in as we get new action plans. So excited to hopefully bring someone on next month. I know it's always a challenging time of day with sports and dinner and stuff like that, but I think we'll be able to make it work if November 1st still works for everyone. And I think we're gonna make it a switch to 6:15. It sounds like that works better for some of our families as well. So
Yeah, that would be great. November 1st, 6:15. I'm excited. That would be great to have a community member parent. Any public comments or questions? No.
looks like we have none.
Anybody else have anything else? I feel like I've asked a lot of questions. All right. Well, this is good, and I appreciate everyone's time. So I guess we'll adjourn for today and see everybody November